We've all heard the saying, silence is powerful, and it's true. Silence can command respect, create mystery, and leave people questioning what's on your mind. It's been a timeless tool of influence, used by the greatest thinkers, strategists, and leaders. But let me ask you something. Is silence always enough? Does staying quiet alone truly give you the upper hand? Or is there a strategy, a far more refined and deliberate one, that goes beyond silence and into a realm of undeniable influence? Welcome back to Stoic Blessing, where we unlock ancient Stoic wisdom and combine it with cutting-edge insights from psychology to help you master your mind and your presence. Today, we're diving into a bold idea, a strategy that's better than silence. Yes, silence has its place. It's a weapon, no doubt. But silence, my friend, has its limits. And what I'm about to reveal isn't just another strategy, it's a game changer. This method doesn't just leave an impression, it embeds your presence in their mind, making you unforgettable. Imagine this, a way to wield your presence so effectively, so intentionally, that it not only shifts the power in your favor, but changes the way people think about you long after you're gone. This isn't about loud words or desperate actions. It's about subtlety, precision, and control. It's about moving with purpose and leaving a mark so profound that others can't help but feel your influence. And when you combine this strategy with the timeless principles of Stoicism and the sharp edges of dark psychology, you're stepping into a league that few ever reach. The Stoics were masters of presence. They understood that true power doesn't come from speaking more or demanding attention. It comes from intentionality. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." This wisdom speaks to the essence of today's lesson, not just the absence of noise, but the deliberate presence of strength. A kind of presence that doesn't fade when you leave, but grows stronger in your absence. That's the strategy we're about to explore. And here's why this matters. In every interaction, whether in relationships, business, or even in how you approach your personal growth, you carry with you the power to influence. But influence doesn't always come from what you say. It's about how you exist in someone's mind, how you shape their perception, and how you leave a lasting imprint. If you've ever felt like silence alone didn't leave the impact you wanted, or if you've ever wondered how to amplify your presence without saying a word, then this is the video for you. Stay with me, because what you're about to learn will change the way you approach life. Now, before we dive into this transformative strategy, I have a small but powerful request. If you're here because you're ready to master your presence, to not just exist but dominate in the right way, take a moment to act. Like this video, it's a small step, but it's your declaration that you're ready to grow. Then drop a comment below with this phrase, "I use my presence wisely." Write it down, say it to yourself, believe it. Because mastering your presence is where your journey to greatness begins. Let's start with silence, because before we can understand why there's something better, we have to first appreciate why silence is so effective. For centuries, silence has been a cornerstone of influence. The Stoics understood its power well. Epictetus said, "Silence is safer than speech." And it's true, staying quiet protects your energy. It stops you from saying things you'll regret. And most importantly, it creates an aura of mystery. Silence can make people wonder, what is he thinking? That simple uncertainty often holds more power than any words could. Think about it. In a world where everyone is desperate to be heard, silence stands out. When you stay quiet, you create a vacuum, an empty space that people rush to fill with their own thoughts, assumptions, and anxieties. It's psychological gravity. Silence makes people project their fears, their hopes, and their insecurities onto you. It makes them work harder to interpret your actions, often giving you more credit or power than you might have claimed outright. But the magic of silence isn't just in what it doesn't do, it's in how it contrasts with noise. People are surrounded by noise all day long, endless opinions, chatter, and arguments. Silence breaks that pattern. It's rare. It forces people to stop and pay attention. And when used correctly, silence gives you control. It allows you to set the tone, to steer the narrative without even speaking a word. Let me give you a practical example. Imagine someone in a heated argument. They're throwing accusations, trying to provoke you, trying to make you react. Most people would jump in, defend themselves, explain their side. But not you. You stay silent. You look them in the eye, calm and steady, and let their words hang in the air. What happens? They get uncomfortable. They second-guess themselves. They realize they've lost control of the situation. That's the power of silence. And it's not just in conflict. Silence works in relationships, negotiations, even casual interactions. When you're silent, people lean in. They want to know more. They want to understand you. But here's the key. Silence works because of its rarity. When overused, it can lose its edge. Silence that becomes predictable isn't powerful. It's just passive. And that's where we start to see its limitations. The truth is, silence by itself isn't always enough. Yes, it creates mystery. Yes, it sets you apart. But there are moments when silence leaves too much to interpretation. Moments when your absence isn't felt the way it should be. Moments when people stop wondering and start assuming. That's why silence, while powerful, needs to be part of a bigger strategy. A strategy that combines the quiet strength of silence with deliberate, calculated action. This is where the Stoics can teach us something even deeper. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Silence is a way to control yourself, to master your reactions. But the Stoics also believed in purposeful action. They didn't stay silent for the sake of it. They stayed silent when it served their purpose. And when silence wasn't enough, they acted with precision. So yes, silence is powerful, but it's only the beginning. There's a strategy that takes everything great about silence and elevates it to the next level, a way to combine the mystery of silence with the undeniable impact of action. And that's what we're about to uncover. Before we move on, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt the power of silence in your life? If so, take a moment to acknowledge it. Like this video right now and drop a comment below. I master silence and action. Say it, write it, own it. Because silence is only step one. If silence is the art of saying nothing, then presence is the art of saying everything without a word. Presence is your ability to command attention, to shape perceptions, and to leave a lasting impression simply by being there. And here's the truth. While silence creates mystery, presence creates power. It makes you memorable, impactful, and, most importantly, impossible to ignore. The Stoics understood this balance well. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Your presence, how you carry yourself, how you move, how you hold space, is a reflection of what's happening internally. When your thoughts are strong, disciplined, and intentional, it shows in your body language, your demeanor, and your energy. That's why presence is so powerful. It's silence with substance. Here's where things get really interesting. Presence leaves a psychological weight on those around you. Think about this. When someone enters a room and they exude calm confidence, everyone notices. They don't have to say a word. Their energy speaks louder than any introduction ever could. And that weight lingers. Even after they've left, the memory of their presence stays in the minds of everyone they've encountered. Presence works because it's active, even when silent. While silence can create a void that others try to fill, presence creates a sense of gravity that draws people in. It's not about being loud or flashy. It's about being deliberate. Standing tall, making eye contact, and carrying yourself with quiet confidence sends a clear message. I know who I am, and I don't need to prove it. That's the kind of energy that turns heads and shifts dynamics. Now, Here's where dark psychology comes into play. Human beings are wired to respond to subtle cues. Your body language, your posture, your facial expressions, all of these speak directly to the subconscious mind. If you look composed, people assume you're in control. If you carry yourself with purpose, people assume you have a plan. If your presence feels intentional, people will feel compelled to take you seriously. And here's the kicker. When you pair this kind of presence with strategic silence, the effect is magnified tenfold. But presence isn't just about what others see, it's about what you feel. When you cultivate presence, you're training yourself to stay grounded, no matter the situation. The Stoics believed that self-mastery begins within, and your presence is the external reflection of that mastery. Epictetus said, "Man is not worried by real problems so much as by his imagined anxieties about real problems." When you master your mind, you stop projecting anxiety. Your presence becomes steady, unshakable, and deeply impactful. Let me give you an example. Imagine walking into a room where someone you admire is sitting. They don't even have to acknowledge you, but their energy fills the space. You're drawn to them, trying to figure out what makes them so magnetic. That's the psychological weight of presence. It's not about what they say, it's about the energy they project. And the truth is, you can cultivate that same energy in yourself. Here's why this matters. Silence can make people wonder about you, but presence makes them remember you. When you combine the two, you create an undeniable force. And the best part? Presence doesn't require permission. It doesn't ask for validation. It simply is. Your presence is your declaration of self-mastery, your proof that you've risen above the noise and claimed your space in the world. So let me ask you this. How do you show up in the spaces you occupy? Are you just there, or are you truly present? If you're ready to cultivate a presence that commands attention and leaves a lasting impression, I want you to take action now. Like this video and comment below, "I master my presence." Because your presence isn't just what they see, it's what they feel. The Stoics had a simple but profound philosophy. Words can only take you so far. True power lies in your actions. While silence and presence are foundational, they are incomplete without deliberate, purposeful action. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You must become an old man in good time if you wish to be an old man long." What he meant is that your future, your legacy, and even your influence are shaped by the actions you take today, not the words you speak or the silence you hold. Action is the bridge between intention and reality. It's how you bring meaning to your presence and depth to your silence. And here's the beauty of it. Actions don't need to be grand or obvious to make an impact. In fact, the Stoics believed the most powerful actions are often subtle, deliberate, and calculated. A calm decision, a steady hand, a quiet move toward progress. These carry more weight than 1,000 words spoken in haste. Let's look at how this works. Imagine you're in a disagreement. While others argue, raise their voices, or scramble to explain themselves, you remain calm. You listen, you observe, and when the time is right, you act, not to prove a point, but to solve the problem or redirect the conversation towards something meaningful. That single act, rooted in logic and purpose, speaks louder than any amount of shouting or explaining ever could. That's Stoic action. Precise, controlled, and undeniable. Now, let's connect this to dark psychology. Human beings are deeply influenced by what they see, even more so than what they hear. When you take action, especially deliberate, visible action, it shapes how others perceive you. People respond to movement, not noise. If they see you steadily working toward your goals, staying composed in chaos, or making impactful moves without seeking validation, they can't help but respect you. They might not say it, but they feel it. The Stoics knew this instinctively. They didn't waste energy arguing or convincing others. They focused on what they could control, their own actions. Seneca said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor. This applies to action as well. Don't crave attention. Don't crave recognition. Instead, take purposeful action that aligns with your values and let your moves speak for themselves. The more deliberate you are, the more powerful your presence becomes. But action isn't just about others. It's about you. Every action you take is a declaration to yourself. When you show up for your goals, when you follow through on your plans, you're building trust in your own ability. And that self-trust is the foundation of confidence. The Stoics believed that mastery of the self is the highest form of power, and action is the path to that mastery. You can't think your way into strength. You have to act your way into it. Here's where this ties back to our strategy. Silence creates mystery. Presence commands attention. But action solidifies your impact. When you pair your silence and presence with purposeful action, you create a dynamic that's impossible to ignore. You're no longer just someone who stands out. You're someone who leaves a mark. Think about it like this. Every move you make, no matter how small, sends a message. Are your actions telling the world that you're composed, intentional, and in control? Or are they scattered, reactive, and unfocused? The Stoics remind us that every choice is a reflection of who we are. So choose actions that reflect your strength. Let me ask you, when was the last time your actions spoke louder than your words? If you're ready to embody the Stoic principle of purposeful action, take a moment now. Like this video and comment below, "My actions define me." Because words can be forgotten, but actions leave a legacy. Now let's take things to the next level, understanding the hidden forces behind how others perceive you. This is where dark psychology comes into play. While Stoicism teaches us to master our own minds, dark psychology helps us understand the minds of others. It's not about manipulation, it's about awareness. Awareness of how subtle actions, body language, and even silence can influence how people think about you. Here's a fact. Perception is reality. How others perceive you shapes how they respond to you, how they treat you, and even how they think about you when you're not around. The Stoics knew this, even if they didn't call it dark psychology. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." This is the key to perception management. Decide how you want to be seen, and then align your actions, your presence, and yes, even your silences, to reflect that image. Let me give you an example. Imagine walking into a room where you don't know anyone. If you slouch, avoid eye contact, and fidget nervously, what are you communicating? Uncertainty, insecurity, a lack of control. Now imagine you enter that same room, standing tall, shoulders back, making calm, steady eye contact. Without saying a word, you've already influenced how people perceive you. That's perception management. It's about using subtle cues to project strength, even in silence. Here's where dark psychology gives us an edge. People are constantly reading and reacting to subconscious signals. Your posture, your facial expressions, the way you move, they all send messages that people interpret instinctively. If you appear calm and confident, they'll assume you're in control. If you act with intention, they'll perceive you as decisive and capable. And if you combine these traits with strategic silence, you become magnetic. People won't just notice you, they'll start thinking about you long after you've left. But let's take it a step further. Perception management isn't just about projecting confidence. It's about creating intrigue. When your actions are deliberate but not overly explained, people start to wonder about your motives. They'll ask themselves, why did he do that? What's his plan? What does he know that I don't? That intrigue is powerful. It keeps you in their minds, shaping their perception of you even when you're not around. The Stoics understood this principle long before modern psychology gave it a name. Marcus Aurelius said, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." Similarly, You shouldn't fear how others perceive you. You should fear failing to take control of that perception. Every move you make, every action or inaction, contributes to the way people see you. So why not make those moves count? Here's a crucial point. Managing perception isn't about being fake or manipulative. It's about aligning how you present yourself with the person you truly are, or the person you're becoming. When your presence, actions, and silence reflect your inner strength and clarity, you're not just managing perception, you're building your reputation. And that reputation is a kind of power that can't be easily shaken. So, how do you put this into practice? Start small. Pay attention to how you carry yourself. Notice the messages you're sending with your body language, your expressions, and your actions, and then ask yourself, are these messages in line with the person you want to be? If not, adjust, because perception isn't fixed. It's something you shape every day. Let me ask you, what impression do you think you're leaving right now? If you're ready to take control of how others see you, take a moment to affirm it. Like this video and comment below, I shape my reality. Because the way you're perceived isn't just about them. It's about you taking charge of your presence. Now that we've explored the power of silence, presence, and perception, it's time to reveal the strategy that ties it all together: controlled visibility. This is a game-changing approach that combines the mystery of silence, the weight of presence, and the deliberate action of Stoicism into one cohesive method. Controlled visibility isn't about being everywhere or nowhere. It's about being seen when it matters most. It's about showing up intentionally, with purpose, and leaving an impression so strong it's impossible to ignore. Here's the essence of controlled visibility. You don't need to be constantly in someone's life to have an impact. In fact, being overly available diminishes your value. The Stoics knew this well. Epictetus said, "Know first who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly." Controlled visibility is about knowing your value and showcasing it strategically. It's about choosing the right moments to engage, the right ways to show up, and the right actions to leave behind. Let me break it down for you. Controlled visibility means being selective about when and how you present yourself. Instead of flooding a situation with noise, you focus on quality over quantity. For example, instead of constantly texting or calling someone, you reach out with purpose. Instead of attending every event or meeting, you make the moments you do show up count. This creates a sense of intrigue and respect. People value what's scarce, and your presence becomes a rare and valuable commodity. Here's where dark psychology plays a role. People are drawn to what feels exclusive and intentional. When you're always available, they subconsciously take you for granted. But when your visibility is controlled, when you appear only at key moments with deliberate actions, it forces them to pay attention. They'll start to wonder, why is he here now? What's he thinking? What's his purpose? That curiosity makes you unforgettable. And that's the power of controlled visibility. It creates intrigue, respect, and a lasting impression. Controlled visibility isn't just about absence, though. It's about strategic presence. When you do show up, you do so with purpose. Your body language is strong, your actions are intentional, your words are chosen carefully. And when you leave a gap that others feel. It's not just about being seen, it's about being felt. The Stoics believed that everything you do should align with your values and purpose. Marcus Aurelius said, "Let your thoughts be ruled by principles." Controlled visibility is your chance to live this wisdom, to act with clarity and purpose. Let's talk about a practical example. Imagine you've been silent in a social circle or relationship for a while. Instead of reappearing randomly, you show up at a moment that matters, a pivotal conversation, a meaningful event, or a time when your input carries weight. When you speak, you're concise and composed. When you act, it's with precision. And when you leave, you've created a memory, a moment that stays with them long after you're gone. That's controlled visibility. It's silence with intention, presence with purpose. But here's the most important part. Controlled visibility isn't just about influencing others. It's about mastering yourself. It's about knowing when to step back to focus on your growth and when to step forward to make an impact. The Stoics believed that the ultimate power lies in self-mastery. Controlled visibility is your chance to practice that mastery. It requires discipline, patience, and confidence in your value. And when you get it right, it transforms how others see you and how you see yourself. Let me ask you this. How often are you visible in ways that truly matter? Are you showing up with purpose, or are you spreading yourself too thin? If you're ready to master the art of controlled visibility, take a moment now. Like this video and comment below. I choose when to be seen. Because this isn't just a strategy, it's a lifestyle. Now that you understand the concept of controlled visibility, let's talk about how to put it into action. Controlled visibility isn't just a mindset. It's a strategy you can implement in every aspect of your life, from relationships to career to personal growth. The key is to strike the perfect balance between presence and absence, between silence and action. This requires discipline, timing, and an unshakable belief in your value. Step 1. Start with self-awareness. Before you can control how others see you, you need to understand yourself. Ask yourself, what impression do I want to leave? What values do I want my actions to reflect? The Stoics emphasized this kind of self-reflection. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." When your actions align with your principles, your presence becomes authentic and powerful. Controlled visibility begins with knowing who you are and what you stand for. Step 2. Choose your moments wisely. Controlled visibility is about quality, not quantity. You don't need to be in every conversation or at every event to be impactful. Instead, identify the moments where your presence will have the most value. For example, in a relationship, this could mean showing up during critical conversations where your input truly matters. In your career, it might mean contributing only when your insights can drive a project forward. The key is to act selectively, so when you do show up, people notice. Step 3. Make your actions deliberate. When you decide to be visible, make it count. Your words, body language, and energy should all align with your purpose. Speak clearly, stand confidently, and move with intention. Even small actions, like how you greet someone or how you listen, can leave a lasting impression if done with purpose. The Stoics believed in action over empty words. Seneca said, "Words that are devoid of truth are meaningless." Controlled visibility is about meaningful actions that resonate long after you're gone. Step 4. Practice strategic absence. Absence doesn't mean disappearing completely. It means stepping back to create space for others to feel your value. When you're always available, your presence can lose its impact. But when you're absent at the right times, you create a sense of scarcity that makes people appreciate you more. This doesn't mean being cold or distant. It means allowing your absence to speak for itself. Remember, absence doesn't weaken your influence. It amplifies it when used strategically. Step 5. Be unpredictable. One of the most powerful aspects of controlled visibility is keeping others guessing. When people can't predict when or how you'll show up, it creates intrigue. Dark psychology teaches us that unpredictability increases curiosity and respect. Don't let your patterns become too obvious. Sometimes your silence will carry the day. Other times, a single deliberate action will shift the entire dynamic. The key is to keep them wondering, what's his next move? Step 6. Focus on consistency over time. Controlled visibility isn't about a single moment. It's about building a reputation. Over time, your selective presence and deliberate actions will create an image of you as someone who's thoughtful, intentional, and powerful. The Stoics taught that greatness isn't achieved overnight. Epictetus said, "No great thing is created suddenly." Stick to the strategy, stay disciplined, and trust that every move you make is shaping how you're perceived. Let's put this into perspective. Imagine someone who only speaks when they have something valuable to say, who shows up at the perfect moments, and whose actions always align with their values. Wouldn't you respect them? Wouldn't you remember them? That's the person you're becoming when you master controlled visibility. You're not just seen, you're felt. So let me ask you, how deliberate are you about the way you show up? Are you making your presence count, or are you spreading it too thin? If you're ready to execute controlled visibility and leave a lasting impression in every area of your life, take action now. Like this video and comment below, "I show up with purpose." Because this isn't just a tactic, it's a way of living. Now, let's talk about a psychological phenomenon that makes controlled visibility even more powerful, the contrast principle. This principle is rooted in both Stoicism and dark psychology, and it's the secret weapon behind amplifying the impact of your actions, presence, and absence. The contrast principle is simple but profound. It's the idea that value is amplified when it's experienced in contrast to something else. Silence feels powerful when it follows noise. Presence feels magnetic when it interrupts absence. And deliberate action feels impactful when it stands against hesitation. The Stoics understood this well. Epictetus said, "It is not things themselves that disturb men, but their judgments about these things." Contrast shapes judgment. When you alternate between being unavailable and highly intentional in your actions, people's perception of you changes. Your silence is no longer just silence, it becomes a statement. Your presence isn't just casual, it feels significant. Contrast makes people pay attention. It forces them to see what they might otherwise overlook. Let me give you an example. Think of someone who is always present, always available, always speaking. Over time, their presence loses its impact. Now imagine someone who is quiet and composed most of the time, but occasionally steps forward with a decisive action or a powerful comment. That contrast makes their presence stand out. It's not just what they do, it's when and how they do it that makes them memorable. Here's where dark psychology comes into play. People are wired to notice changes. Our brains are designed to pay attention to shifts in behavior, patterns, and availability. When you create contrast, by alternating between silence and action, presence and absence, you keep people intrigued. They start to wonder, why is he quiet now? What's his next move? Why does his presence feel so significant? This psychological pull keeps you in their thoughts, even when you're not physically there. Contrast also creates emotional impact. Absence makes people appreciate presence. Deliberate action makes people rethink silence. This is why controlled visibility works so well. It leverages the contrast principle to amplify everything you do. Your silence feels heavier, your words feel sharper, your actions feel bolder. And the best part, you don't have to explain yourself. The contrast speaks for itself. But this principle isn't just about others, it's also about you. The Stoics believed in the power of reflecting on contrasts to cultivate gratitude and self-awareness. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Think of yourself as dead. You have lived your life. Now take what's left and live it properly." This reflection on contrasts between life and death, opportunity and regret, helps you focus on what truly matters. The contrast principle isn't just a tool to influence others, it's a way to sharpen your own sense of purpose. Here's how to use the contrast principle effectively. Be intentional with your shifts. Don't disappear or reappear randomly. Do it with purpose. For example, step back when your presence is taken for granted and step forward when it will have the greatest impact. Create a pattern, but don't let it become predictable. The unpredictability of contrast keeps people intrigued. If they can guess your next move, the effect is diminished. Make your actions bold when they follow absence. After a period of silence or distance, your re-entry should feel deliberate and meaningful. This is where the power of contrast shines brightest. Let's put this into perspective. Controlled visibility paired with the contrast principle creates a dynamic that's impossible to ignore. People will start to associate your absence with anticipation and your presence with impact. And that's what makes this strategy so effective. It doesn't just leave an impression, it leaves them wanting more. So let me ask you, are you creating contrasts in the way you show up? Are you leaving enough space for people to feel your absence and appreciate your presence? If you're ready to master the art of the contrast principle, take action now. Like this video and comment below. My impact is undeniable. Because when you combine presence, purpose, and contrast, you don't just exist, you dominate. Now we arrive at the core of everything we've discussed: empowerment through mastery. Controlled visibility, deliberate action, and the contrast principle are all tools. But the real power comes from mastering yourself first. This is the heart of Stoicism. The Stoics believed that self-mastery is the foundation of all influence, all power, and all fulfillment. Marcus Aurelius said it best: "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Empowerment isn't about controlling others. It's about controlling yourself. It's about understanding that the way you carry yourself, the way you act, and the way you appear to others all begin with what's happening internally. Your presence, your silence, and your actions are only as powerful as the mind behind them. Mastering yourself means developing the discipline to act with purpose and the confidence to stay silent when it serves you better. Let's break this down. Self-mastery starts with your mindset. The Stoics believed that your thoughts shape your reality. Epictetus said, "Man is not disturbed by things, but by the views he takes of them." This means that your reactions, your emotions, and your sense of control are entirely within your hands. When you train your mind to remain steady, to stay calm under pressure, you project an energy that others can feel. That's where empowerment begins, with your ability to stay grounded no matter what. The second layer of mastery is discipline. Mastery requires consistency, and consistency is built on habits. It's the small daily actions that create the foundation for your confidence and presence. When you follow through on your commitments to yourself, whether it's physical training, mental discipline, or emotional resilience, you build trust in your own abilities. And when you trust yourself, others will naturally sense your strength. Here's the beauty of this. When you master yourself, you stop needing external validation. You're no longer chasing approval or attention because you already know your worth. That's what makes controlled visibility so effective. It's not about proving anything to anyone else. It's about showing up with clarity, confidence, and purpose, knowing that your presence is already enough. But here's where it gets deeper. Mastery isn't just about internal strength, it's also about alignment. Your presence, your silence, and your actions must all align with your values. When they do, you create a sense of authenticity that people can't ignore. Authenticity is rare, and it's magnetic. People can feel when someone is walking the talk, when their actions match their words. That's why the Stoics placed such a strong emphasis on living virtuously. Seneca said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." Mastery isn't about having everything, it's about being enough. Now let's tie this back to controlled visibility. When you master yourself, you don't need to overcompensate with noise or constant presence. Your energy becomes a statement on its own. When you act, it's deliberate. When you're silent, it's purposeful. When you're absent, it's felt. This is the power of self-mastery. It amplifies every strategy we've discussed because it begins with you. Here's the real truth. The path to mastery isn't easy. It requires patience, reflection, and a willingness to confront your own weaknesses, but the reward is worth it. When you master yourself, you don't just influence others, you inspire them. Your presence becomes a reminder of what's possible, and your absence becomes a call to reflect on what they've lost. That's true empowerment. Let me ask you, are you in control of your mind, your actions, and your energy? Or are you letting outside events dictate who you are? If you're ready to take ownership of your life, to empower yourself through mastery, take action now. Like this video and comment below, I am the master of my life, because real power doesn't come from controlling others, it comes from mastering yourself. We've come full circle. We started with silence, explored presence, uncovered the power of action, and mastered the art of contrast. But through it all, one truth has remained constant. Your greatest power doesn't lie in controlling others. It lies in controlling yourself. Everything we've discussed today is rooted in the idea of self-mastery. The strategies we've uncovered, controlled visibility, deliberate action, and the contrast principle, are only as powerful as the mind and discipline behind them. The Stoics believed that life isn't about what happens to you, it's about how you respond. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." This is your reminder. Every moment is an opportunity to live intentionally, to act purposefully, and to carry yourself with the confidence of someone who knows their worth. Controlled visibility isn't just a strategy, it's a reflection of your ability to move through the world with clarity and focus. Now, here's where the transformation truly begins. Everything we've talked about only works if you apply it. Knowledge without action is nothing. So I'm challenging you to take these ideas and make them part of your life. Start small. Practice silence when it's needed. Step back when it serves you better. Then, when the moment calls for it, show up with purpose, with presence, and with action so deliberate it leaves a lasting mark. Controlled visibility isn't about doing everything. It's about doing the right things at the right time. Think about it. How much more powerful would your relationships, your career, or even your daily interactions be if you started living with this kind of intention? Imagine walking into every room, every conversation, every opportunity with the quiet confidence of someone who doesn't just exist, but commands respect. That's what happens when you master yourself, your presence, and your actions. You don't just leave an impression, you leave a legacy. But here's the truth. This journey won't always be easy. Self-mastery requires discipline. Controlled visibility demands patience. And building a presence that speaks louder than words takes time. But if you stay consistent, if you stay committed, the results will speak for themselves. You'll start to notice how people respond to you differently, how they lean in when you speak, how they respect your silence, and how they feel your absence. That's the power of these strategies, and that's the power of becoming the master of your life. So now, I have one final question for you. What are you going to do next? Are you going to continue blending into the background, or are you going to start showing up with purpose and intention? If you're ready to take control of your presence, your actions, and your impact, here's what I need you to do. Like this video right now. It's a small step, but it's the first of many deliberate